I'll let you see. Come around here. I'll show you the picture.
I'm excited. Is the sound going right out of the board or
No,
straight to the
just
computer?
straight through the microphone.
Man, we have to apologize for the sound quality.
Yeah, it may not be that great. I don't know. It might be good.
We might have to work on our
Appearance?
stuff. We have to work on our gear. Look at our iPad there.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you. What's
How
going
are you?
on? I'm good.
You know, just another COVID Wednesday. Just another COVID
There's nothing
Wednesday.
like quarantine to make your day go well. Being cooped up with people you care about.
It's almost like, yeah, there's a Bengals
A Manic
parody
Monday?
ready to be made. Let's do this.
The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by me and Ash. 75 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 87 under cloudy skies. Ever so slight chance of rain around 2 or 3 this afternoon. Cloudy all day and hot. Well, not hot, but if you're in Calgary, it's hot. 87 degrees.
70 some odd degrees in Calgary yesterday, so they finally got a nice day.
So is the snow over? Do you call it now?
No.
You say that's it?
No,
No more?
there'll be another snowfall between now and Memorial Day.
Seriously?
Yeah.
People are crazy.
There's usually one around the Victoria Day weekend, which is the weekend before Memorial Day.
Why does anybody
Up
live
there? So CW Bean checking in. It's actually a pretty nice city, except when it's 40 below.
Right.
David Rice, good morning. Lisa Poole, Bobby Leister, Scott Tomko, Stephen Kidder, all checking in. Let's see who else is in.
Who checked
Judge
in
Posey,
first?
Randy Langston, CW Bean was first one in. Top
Steve
fan.
Kidder must have had a bet with somebody. Remember Fred Flintstone?
Yep. Happy birthday to Brent Anderson this morning.
Hey, happy birthday, Zip. Didn't the great Kazoo have to get Fred?
Gazoo. It's a G. Gazoo.
It's Gazoo?
Yeah.
Didn't he have to get Fred out of gambling?
They had to get Fred out of a lot of stuff.
He was involved in that, wasn't he? Dum-dums. Come on, dum-dums.
Bet.
That's right.
When they went to Rock Vegas, wasn't it?
They went to Rock Vegas. Correct.
Yep.
Don Posey checks in. Good morning, Judge.
Lisa Poole.
Hello, David Rice.
Let's see who else in. Chris Jansen. Good morning to you, Chris. I think I passed you the other day. They waved at you, but I don't think you saw it. I don't think you knew who the idiot
Did
was
you give
waving
him
at you was.
the de Blasio wave?
I didn't give him
The one-finger salute?
No de Blasio wave. Chris Conrad, good morning to you. Paul Ebner, Tammy Darlene, good morning. How's it going, eh?
It's all good.
Melanie Lott, Steve Tyler, Matt Boucher.
It's a thinking man's audience. You notice that?
Steve Kidder's gunning for top fan. Trey Molina's in. Marvin Mickish.
Funk it, Trey. Trey, I saw your video yesterday about St. Ed's athletics. Ash and I were talking before the show. This was not really show material, but something we talked about before. You got a school like St. Ed's, 4,500 students at $45,000 per is $200 million a year.
Which tells me not everybody's paying $45,000 per.
Right. Is that right?
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
45,000
Should we do the math real quick?
45. No, you're right. That's $202 million. And you're telling me they can't play golf? I mean, come on.
Or tennis and soccer?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Students there are rallying. They're posting videos and trying to make them go viral as a way to sort of protest the scrapping of 6 programs there.
It honestly sounds to me a little bit like they were kind of looking for a way to get rid of sports to begin with and just kind of said, hey, here's our out. Let's ditch it. I don't know. You hate to see that. They've had some success. It's a beautiful little school.
And their soccer program, their men's soccer program, have been pretty successful. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Makes you wonder.
Yes, sir. Steve Tyler says it's still Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it really is. Now, San Miguel Guajardo checking in from Austin.
Big in Austin.
Jim Simpson, Andy Ria Jr.,
That's Jimmy
BJ
Three-
Nelson,
Jimmy Three Cheese.
Michael Guajardo. CW Bean wants to know if he won something. No, he didn't win anything. Just because you're first in, it doesn't mean nothing
It
here.
means you're the one that couldn't sleep.
Exactly.
I mean, what do you want, a cookie for insomnia? I
That's
mean,
all you get this
who
morning.
does that? Nobody checks in here to see what's
Well,
going on.
We're trying something different. We've launched a YouTube channel,
See what's staying on my T-shirt.
and so that launched today. Wade and Carter on YouTube. That's
We're here up on
Yeah.
Facebook. There's a little stain on my
Yeah.
T-shirt. You can see it on YouTube.
so we'll see how that goes, and it'll be interesting.
The difference is on YouTube down at the bottom it says "say something," and it's like there's crickets.
Yeah, there's nobody saying anything, but we'll have to see how that works. First time trying something. If you ain't evolving, you're devolving.
Deep Thoughts by Mr. Apocalypse.
So,
Unbelievable.
Diane O'Quinn, good morning. Scott Snow, Missy Klimacek, Johnny Houghton, good morning to you. COVID obviously is on everybody's mind.
Doctor. Missy.
Yes.
Good morning, Doctor.
Congress passes $480 or $480 billion in what they continue to mislabel as stimulus package. I don't believe it should be called that. I believe this is more. I think this is COVID reaction and recovery. I don't know that stimulus is the right word, because until you allow businesses to open back up, there's no stimulus happening.
No. Steve Kidder says, do you get the after show if you subscribe to the YouTube channel? The deal is, Stephen,
Go subscribe and you'll find out.
if you don't subscribe, won't you please just donate? It's your responsibility. This type of free press must go on. It is essential. This family-owned show here,
Yep.
it is essential that we go on.
So initially, about $350 billion in what could be forgivable loans was approved by Congress. They blew through that money in about 16 days because you had there is a congressman, and I can't remember his name, that's asking for a congressional investigation into Ruth's Chris. Chris, which one is it?
Ruth's Chris
I've never eaten there,
Steakhouse.
yeah.
Got
I've
a
only
bunch of
passed
money,
it. I could never afford it when I look at the menu.
right? They got a bunch of money.
And they the Shake Shack did the same thing. The Shake Shack got $10 million. They said they're returning it. Ruth's Chris apparently came out and said, well, we thought with under 500 employees, that meant per location.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So they only applied and got
So
30.
there's fraud there.
They got $30 million. And so there's
But who looked at that and said, oh, Ruth's Chris, that's a nice place. Let's give them $30 million.
who looked at that and said, there's a small business. And I'm not knocking but it certainly seems to be going against the intent of the program,
Well, and
is what I'm thinking.
Christopher Conrad points out that Harvard took 8. I thought the number was 9, but it's irrelevant. Harvard took multiple millions of dollars when they got like a $44 billion endowment.
Oh, it's probably higher than that. That's probably their annual return on their endowment.
And they took 8 or 9 million from the government to defray costs for students.
Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to see if there's any paper trail, any accountability, and if anybody ever figures out whether this was money well spent.
Only time will tell.
Right?
The worst cliche ever. But Congress went and appropriated more money.
See, somebody that gets the show, Dr. Klimacek says, next thing you know, you guys will quit delivering your content on Mondays. Well,
We Facebook.
we
just
could-
go YouTube.
although in this case, that would be a negative. And in the other case, it's kind of been nice.
Yeah.
It's been kind of nice. Doesn't this lead you into a natural segue of there's not going to be accountability, there's money just going out the door? Do you want to talk about what I label just the folly of the thought of our city council even discussing Lift Fund? Now, you were a little more passionate.
Well,
you were a little more caring. You were
I
a little more
think the intent.
analytical. You were analytical.
I think the intent to do something locally when they saw that the 350 billion was blown through in 14 days, and there might have been some businesses that missed out on it. But when I started reading the details of this thing and looking through it, I was just like, it started off as a $750,000 money that I'm assuming our good stewards saved out of overpass projects, so we were allowed to keep it and put it into something else, so it went into a future parks project.
It was
right?
money that came from the TxDOT, and they rat-holed it away to work for the parks.
So they were smart with the money initially.
Yes,
would be my guess, because we didn't have to spend it all. So then $750,000 was earmarked and was identified as being able to use. And my understanding is they went to the Sales Tax Development Corporation. They couldn't do it with it.
Their
would have taken them about 60
it.
days.
And their bylaws don't allow it. The Sales Tax Development Corp doesn't deal with small business loans. Period.
Carolyn Campbell is a good point. I bet you there'll be ample accountability to the actual small businesses getting the small loans, but the $9 million to Harvard will slip through the cracks.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Kind of like the accountability to the Kennedy Center that went and laid off everybody that they said they needed $25 million to preserve their jobs.
Because they're using it right now for new wallpaper.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Good morning, Mike Glosky.
Katina Arterberry checking in. Lacey Merriman.
Katina Arterberry's checking in because Uncle Mutz is back, baby. It's Wednesday and Uncle Mutz is back. Woohoo! You got to get Uncle Mutz today.
I get there today.
Hello, Sheriff Louderback.
So they found $750,000
just laying there,
and they were going to use it for 0% interest loans to local small businesses.
A romantic idea.
Managed by Lift Fund. Lift Fund was going to get $70,000 off the top.
A not-for-profit organization
to administer the program.
It's a good time to point out to you folks that not-for-profit does not mean charitable. Does not. Just means they don't work for a profit. They work to cover their expenses. They work to cover their overhead, and they work. It includes their salaries. It'd be interesting to see what kind of money the folks that run Lift Fund make, because
they got through. They apparently, according to the information presented yesterday, they've loaned out over $330 million. So compare that to a bank, they're probably making good money.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that money they got back.
Ryan Lott says this business applied for the small business business help. He's not going to say numbers, but he said they didn't get approved for enough to make a round of payroll.
Right.
So get back to this.
Yeah. Segue back.
$70,000 off the top to them for administration of the program, which there is administration costs. I'm not naive to that.
Sure.
That's
13%. But go ahead.
Okay, well, off the 75, 70, that's less than 10, right?
Let's see. Well, no, it's not of the 75.
Well,
it's of the 750.
Well, 750,000, and they're getting 70,000 off the top. So that's about 8%.
Well, you can do it that way, and you can get that it's 9.3%.
So that would have left $680,000 to be loaned out to local businesses. Plus, there's a 5% fee for every loan application paid for by the borrower. And in the numbers presented to council yesterday, they figured at $25,000, which was the max that you could get loaned. That works out to about 27 businesses in Victoria that would have been able to get the money. That's the fewest number that would have been able to benefit from it if they all went and applied for $25,000, right?
Right.
And they cited a figure of 20,000, which would have helped about 34 businesses in town.
Still, they're getting another 5%
off that, which took the percentage up to about, I think, 13 or 14%, or maybe a little bit higher. Then they would have leveraged that money and managed to go out and get another $70,000 somehow to help cover their expenses. When it's all said and done,
that's about make that effort.
That's about 23 to 25%. Now we're talking almost payday loan type of margins.
It's between using a bank and a credit card to fund $750,000. The interesting thing is, I can go back to the impetus of the idea and tell you that I don't believe, and I didn't say it nearly as eloquently as former Mayor Paul Pawlowski, who I thought was spot on. that this program, period, is not in the wheelhouse of municipal government, city government. It's not. We're not in the charity business, and we're not in the banking business. But when you throw in that you're going to take $750,000, and the most you'd ever get back is $680,000, you're not being a good steward of taxpayer money. Not even $680,000. I mean, that's wrong because there's a 5% origination fee and
to the borrower. So if your loan was for 20, you're already only getting 19 right off the bat.
Right.
And you
owe 20 back. I found it interesting that they're using our money, and yet the Lyft fund people talked about interest buy downs. Well, you don't have to buy any interest down when you've got no skin in the game, and that's one of the things that bothered me about Lyft fund.
Well, and Andrew Young was concerned about, on the back end, they set up an ongoing dream fund, which is a pool of money to continue to do this, right?
Right.
And the only one that generates any revenue off the interest is Lyft fund. So we're putting all the skin in the game. We're paying them between taxpayers and borrowers, $104,000 right off the start to administrate this thing.
Right.
And because 5% of 680 was about $34,000 added to the 70 that they would be getting off this is 104,000. That's how I get to the math. And nobody disputed that during the meeting yesterday. So I'm assuming it's correct and accurate. Then this fund is there. And I had a discussion with Councilman Young, and his long-term concern is 10 years from now, that dream fund is gone. And all of a sudden, well, we've been funding this for 10 years. We need to prop it back up. Yeah, there would have been an ongoing commitment somehow.
And it's all of a sudden your city council is now in the banking business. And at some point, there's going to have to be an investigation into how Billy Bob got a loan and Tommy Sue didn't.
And Jeff Bachnight, Councilmember Bachnight, was concerned about some of the criteria. It wasn't restrictive, and the design was to sort of help those who couldn't get SBA money and what have you. But all you had to do was prove you were in business since last August. And he said, if you point out to the start of the COVID around March, you're talking a company that's only been open for 7 months.
Right.
You had to show about a 15% loss.
Easy to do.
You had to retain or employ one person. No definition on the timeline of that.
Brent and Ash's roofing service.
Yeah. So, but, and his concern was also defaults. What happens if they default? What are you going to go after? You're going to go get their house if they decide not to make payment on a $5,000 loan that they got?
There's no collateral on the loan. And what's interesting in this particular situation is, at what point is too much too much? If I told you that this is a really romantic idea, and even though I don't agree at all with the city being involved in this, I just don't. There's federal funds available, and I'm not sure I believe the federal government ought to be involved in it either. Maybe give people tax cuts and let the consumer spur the economy. But I'm not sure I believe in the government, in this case, just, the federal government just printing money and sending it out and devaluing our currency. We're all going to pay for the inflation. We're all going to pay for the inflated prices when this is over, because the dollar is going to be worth even less than it was worth to begin with.
And here's how the voting went amongst your city council members. Rafael De La Garza, no. Josephine Solis, yes. So she voted in favor of it. Jeff Bachnight was a no. Jan Scott was a no. Councilmember Andrew Young was a no. Mark Lofgren was a yes. And Raleigh McCoy was a yes. It was defeated 4-3.
Right, as it should have been. And I look at it, and I mean, I understand the agendas at play, and I understand exactly why everybody voted the way they did, and bless them for voting their conscience. But the reality of the situation is that this was a bad financial move, and it was at best questionable as to whether the city should be involved in this to begin with. If I came to you and I said, we both agree that maybe the city shouldn't be involved in this, but Ash, I've got a not-for-profit that's backed by fill in the philanthropist, and for $5,000, they will take on the underwriting of these loans and all the paperwork and everything, and we can loan $745,000 into the community. You might say, well, that's pretty good, and that's almost like a charity deal. That's good. But if I came to you and said, We've got $750,000. I've got an organization that'll take 500,000 of it, and they'll loan the other 250 out and guarantee you get the money back. They're going to spend the time to underwrite these loans, and you'll get your 250 back. It doesn't take long to realize that's a bad idea. I'm going to pay $500,000 to get 250 back. It's costing me $750,000. So somewhere in between is where this Lyft fund is, and Lyft fund comes off looking like a credit card to me, a payday loan place.
Well, and Jeff Bognight was concerned about defaults. What happens there? Where's the accountability?
There's no accountability. There's no recourse.
And Lyft Fund says they have their track record over the years is about a 4% default rate, which I don't know what that is compared to industry standards. It seems acceptable.
I think banks are more like 1%,
well,
and I'm going to tell you
but I know
this would be 30%.
Lyft Fund is designed to provide credit and funding to those who can't qualify for a traditional loan. I kind of get what they're trying to do.
Right.
So I don't know that 4% is, if 4% to me was an absolutely atrocious number, they'd be out of business.
Well, and I don't believe that's 4% is not an atrocious number. I just don't believe that it's the role of city government to offer
to be in a banking business.
High risk businesses. My tax dollars.
I agree with you there. The other thing is, I don't know that you can look at that 4% track record and think that 4% is going to be the norm when we're heading for what, some are calling the worst depression ever.
Right.
And others are saying we're at least heading to 2008 level recession.
I think if you loaned $680,000 of those dollars, if you got 300 of it back, you would be lucky. Lucky. And that's not an intelligent. By the way, these are the same people that complain about Boot Fest.
Yeah, and there was, some comments after, let's go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can help. But I like your suggestion: cut taxes. You want to help businesses, all businesses.
Yeah. This
would have helped at the maximum 27 to 34 businesses. Because let's be honest, if you're applying for $1,000 loan, your business probably isn't going to be in business for much longer. If that's all
that's right.
You're not much of a business if all you need is $1,000 loan to get you through here. You either have enough reserves on the back end looking for a free cash grab, or you don't have much of a business.
Well,
that's just the honesty here. So, but I believe the number was presented. There's 4,000 businesses in Victoria. Cut the taxes on every single one of those 4,000 businesses, and now you're helping every business, not the 34 that could have applied for the Lyft Fund loan.
Absolutely. A couple other thoughts on this. One is the $750,000 came to the city from TxDOT. It was part of an overpass program, and it had been earmarked to go to the parks. Okay, so then they were going to take the money from the parks and then later use the sales tax development.
Well, but that's where a couple of council members had issue. Sales tax corporation had, I believe the word was, would consider $750,000 for a future project. There wasn't a firm commitment, and that was troublesome to, I think, Councilmember Bachnight and Councilmember Young, if I remember correctly, and maybe even Councilmember Scott.
But you're taking the money from Peter to pay Paul with the promise that I'll give you a hamburger on Tuesday, that kind of deal. And you're looking
and we'll give you a burger and a fries somewhere down the road.
Yeah, it does interest me that from a finance standpoint, this is folly. Now, it may, from a benevolence standpoint, from a romantic or philanthropic standpoint, look at the little city that just pulled together and loaned money to help themselves out. Okay, that's a beautiful thought. I'm not thrilled that our city manager was on board with this. This is finance 101 money loser. And if he's going to try to tell me that he thinks that by stimulating these businesses, we'll make more money off of the taxes of these businesses than we would make on that 750, nah. Not buying it. Not buying it with the defaults.
I can't see how a business would go and apply for much less than the 20 to 25 maximum.
Right.
So I don't know how 34 businesses are going to 27 to 34 businesses would get you that. The other problem I have with
It's
it,
a drop in the bucket for what we need.
Sales Tax Corporation funds their projects out of sales tax revenue. If we're facing a hit, I can't wrap my mind around, and my brain just won't comprehend. Yeah, I know there's nothing.
No,
there.
I'm with you.
Shine the light.
No, I got you. I see why you're.
At some point down the road, when they're asked for that 750 that they said they would consider, well, sales tax revenue has been bad. All we have is 250. Who's footing the other 500,000 at that point?
Right.
Back to us, the taxpayers, and back to you, all the taxpayers. I don't live in the city.
No, but I'm with you.
Right? That's
the way. A lot of taxes in the city, though.
I mean, I pay sales tax, but that's kind of the way I saw that. James Kerr says you want to stimulate business, you open up Texas, and that was getting to our next point. I think we already made that point. That the other thing is, if we don't allow business to open up, there's going to be no stimulation. There's going to be no economy. These loans will be defaulted on at a higher rate than 4% for sure, because if you can't open your doors, you can't ever keep your doors open.
Right. And I get it that there are a number of small businesses out there that on an individual, this is where I'm like globally, I'm real conservative. Personally, I'm probably kind of liberal. I'd have a hard time looking at an individual, and I've got one in mind. I have a friend in mind that owns a small business that I know is struggling. And I would have a hard time looking at that person and saying, hey, these loans are not a good idea. When they're thinking, if I can just make it to May until they lift this deal, I'm going to be fine. I'll pay my loan back. And this particular individual, I know they would. But the reality is, for those people, there's got to be another loan somewhere besides the city deciding to get in that. This is exactly like, does the city get in the affordable housing business? It's charitable. It sounds great. It's just not your job. So there you have it. There's Funky Trey Molina. What do you say?
Trey Molina says yesterday he went online because one of his auto payments was declined. He called and he said, hey, they wanted to help him. They said, you do not have to pay for 60 days.
But I guarantee you that interest is still accruing.
Yeah, and it's going on the back end. He says, here, how's that help me? Take my payment. If you got the ability to make the payment, why would you defer it?
Right.
So
I agree.
So I think 4 of your council members got this one right yesterday. I think 3 did not. So there we go. I think now we can move on. They said they want to look at other solutions or other ways to help. I think they cut your property taxes. That would be a way to help everybody, not just businesses, property owners as well. I think that's a great way to start. But you can't tell me you couldn't have put this on the back of one of those new assistant city managers that has been hired.
Easily.
Other duties as assigned, and then been able to loan out the entire $750,000 if that's really where council believes this $750 should go. That couldn't have been done that way, or you couldn't have found somebody to administer a program. We got a lot of good retired bankers in this town that probably could have done it for a few months for $15,000, and you're able to lend more money out and help more businesses. If that's really the way City Council believes this money should be spent, which I don't believe is the intent, although I think there might be, if they rework this, I think you might see a 4-3 vote the other way, to be honest.
Look at it like this, though. You could go to a bank and get a signature loan at about 10%. And the bank at least has skin in the game, right? They're loaning their depositors money. If they lose that money, the bank can go out of business. Lift Fund is getting, what was the number, 13% or whatever when it's all said and done.
Plus the other 70 that they're able to leverage from other sources. I don't know where they didn't define where that money comes from. That was a question that I had. So even if they don't go get that 70, they're still walking away with $104,000 of taxpayer money.
And they've got no skin in the game.
None at all.
None at all. I mean, I bet you if you told a local bank, hey, we'll give you $104,000 to loan out the balance of the 750. What would that be? 646,000, something like that. We'll give you that money out of our pocket and give you $104,000 to loan it out. Well, what responsibility do we have to collect it? None. Well, what happens if they default? Nothing. Every bank in this town would take that deal.
Yeah.
And they're for profit because it would make them money. So don't ever get not-for-profit confused with charitable. It's not the same thing.
There are charities that are nonprofit, and there are nonprofits that aren't charities.
That's exactly right.
So,
And Lift Fund is not a charity.
neither is Allen's Wrecker Service, but they're essential service when you need them.
578-6300. Best segue ever by young Ash Wade Walachow. Well done, you former Soviet.
Thank you. Yet, Soviet.
Oh, stop it. Allen's Wrecker Service. They'll come out and tell you where we need to go. You know the story.
578-6300.
Fat kids, skinny kids, kids that climb on rocks. They'll get them all over to where they need to be. Even kids with chicken pox. Love Allen's. Allen's Wrecker. 578-6300.
Uncle Mutt's Barbecue. Back open today.
Back. The Chris Berman special. Get in there today and get Uncle Mutt's to go.
That's the only way you can get it right now.
Right? Make it sound good, though. Sell it to them. Uncle Mutt's Barbecue to go. Hey, what a bonus. Take it home. Brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, all the
Ribs? Did you say ribs?
ribs, all the accoutrement.
Got
Uncle Mutt's rice.
your pea salad.
It's fantastic. I'm going to get rice and pea salad today. That's what I'm having for lunch.
What meat?
Don't need any.
Just carving it up, huh?
Rice and pea salad.
There you go.
There you go. That's what I'm having. It's all I can afford.
SCT Building Systems, 564-8864. Give Clayton Health a call.
His wife, Casey, will help you design your next barn, dominium, she shed, house, whatever you need. A
Man
building,
cave,
barn,
storage.
They got it.
Tell you what, for the next time all goes into negative territory, you might want to build that storage facility so it doesn't get there.
Right? Just store your oil. Do it. SCT
564-8864.
Chestnut Furniture Company, 100 years in downtown Victoria. How can you go wrong?
You can't.
50% off on all furniture. They've got bedding, Tempur-Pedic bedding. They've got appliances, televisions, lamps.
Grandson's still loving the recliner they got from Chesnick's.
Awesome. Get a hold of Bobby Leon. Tell him that Wade and Carter sent you and take advantage of their 100-year sale. 100 years in downtown Victoria. 3 generations strong. You'll be glad because Chestnut and love make your house a home. Good morning, Rena Shearer. Hope you're doing well.
Trying something new today. You can check us out on Facebook or on YouTube today as well. Got a new
So
YouTube
you can
channel up
listen
and
to us
going.
on Magic 95 FM.
Yep.
You can listen to us at magic95victoria.com. You can listen to us on YouTube. Travis Gundelot goes on there and becomes the first person to ever talk about us on YouTube.
He says he's test driving the YouTube option and said it made him take his temperature before he logged in. So we're making sure
Right.
that social distancing is working the way it needs to.
Now, what we want to work on, Travis, is better. Like you're looking up, it's the camera that's on the laptop.
Eventually we'll figure
We'll
it out.
We'll get some video equipment.
But times are tough right now.
We're trying to get a small business loan from the city to hire a photographer and a producer. What do you have on there? You have your Bob Ross t-shirt on?
I do have my Bob Ross
What does it
t-shirt
say on there?
Just says happy trees.
Mm.
Yeah. With a nice little
Did you wear that?
portrait of Bob Ross.
Did you wear that while you were in rehab? I mean, unbelievable.
Art rehab.
You don't think Bob Ross was like sparking up with that perm, do you? Looky here, happy accidents. Happy accident. Is that what he called it? Happy accident?
Happy, yep. No mistakes, just happy accidents.
Unbelievable.
I like
It's like this show. It's a happy accident. Hi, Courtney
Courtney
Middleton. Hope
checking
you're
in.
doing good.
Good morning to you. Bob Ross was my Sunday morning rehab every weekend.
Right.
It's always on PBS
Flip it on.
right before kickoff
PBS.
in college. Bob Ross got me through.
There you go.
right before kickoff or tip-off.
He passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, a few years back. He's got a Lego out. He's got a Bob. I saw a Bob Ross like introductory art kit you can get, and
Somebody profiting off the name of Bob Ross.
his heirs, I hope.
Right? Yeah, you hope so.
I would love to have an original Bob Ross painting.
They all look the same.
No, they start off looking the same, just a white canvas. They all
Did he
started
ever
the
sell
same.
any of it?
Oh, I'm sure he did. How do you can't run that show on PBS for 30 years without. Yeah, I mean, but he didn't have much expense in wardrobe and hair and makeup. It was the same hair, beard, makeup, and blue paint shirt.
He just grew hair everywhere he could in large doses.
Steve Kidder says there is a Bob Ross Chia pet. Yep. I
Nice.
was forbidden from buying it at the Target.
Steve Kidder has lots of trivia stored in there.
Chris Cox says did you know he was in the military before doing the painting show? I did not know that. I now even have more respect for him.
There you
So
go.
hopefully he was honorably discharged.
Was he a Canadian?
No, that would have made him because that would have made him a draft dodger. Think about his timing. He would have been
Good point.
Vietnam War,
He's
right?
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So James Kerr says he needs a Bob Ross perm. First, you need more hair, James Kurth.
So you and I then, to wrap up the Lift Fund deal, we both agree it was probably a bad call.
Yeah, I think City Council got it right.
And I will go on giving a pass to those involved. I
I think their intentions were noble. I think they were trying to help. I just don't know if this was, and I think City Council, 4 that voted against it, didn't feel this was the right way to do it. And I appreciate them for that. And
Right.
the discussion was factual for the most part. And I think those that looked at the facts and the numbers as opposed to feeling good about doing something voted the way they did.
I
I
agree.
think that's kind of how it went down. Those who saw the numbers and
Which is their job, is to see the numbers. I don't care how you feel. Your job is to be a steward of the taxpayers' money.
so
Now, I'll tell you this, and this is not a slam. All of you know, and I sent a note to Raleigh McCoy yesterday and invited him to listen and call. I've invited Raleigh to come on the show numerous times. Raleigh's been kind of busy. I don't know if you folks have noticed that.
yeah,
I absolutely threw all my chips in and completely support Raleigh McCoy. But I tell you something I've told
but it
Raleigh.
doesn't mean you can't disagree with the things that he's trying to do either.
No, and in this case, I mean, I have editorial comments as to his motivation, but I'll tell you this. If you are consistently a dissenting vote on the losing side of the vote, you're not leading. You're not leading. Your vote is 1 of 7, but you're first among equals. And if you're on the losing side of the votes repeatedly, you're not leading, you're just a naysayer. So be aware that when these things become important enough to be put on the council agenda, the mayor needs to be out front enough to get his wishes confirmed. And that's, I mean, it's noble that you vote your conscience, but if you're walking and nobody's following you, you're not leading, you're just on a hike. So there's the problem.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd rather be in Raleigh's shoes than Bill de Blasio's shoes right now. Just even without the COVID stuff going on, he's just an idiot of a
Raleigh's
man.
got 13 million fewer haters.
Yeah.
Man, de Blasio, that guy. Of course, they have such a distinction because it seems like, and it's not fair. Like we've got Mayor McCoy and we have Governor Abbott, two very distinct, way distant. Andrew Cuomo and de Blasio are both essentially in Manhattan. I mean, right? They're both kind of like in New York. Cuomo's getting all the good pub, being considered as a vice presidential running mate, or maybe a presidential nominee when Joe Biden is interned. And you look at it and you go, hey, de Blasio is just coming off as the local clown. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't do anything to not cement that legacy over the weekend. On Saturday, I think he launched a mobile number that New Yorkers could text to rat
Their neighbors,
their neighbors out and others who weren't social distancing, weren't following, quote, the rules.
Where are the brown shirts?
Yeah.
Where's the
Well,
Gestapo?
In a city that probably
Never sleeps.
birthed the phrase, snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. You're setting up a snitch hotline.
If
right?
I can make it there, I'll make it. Anywhere, it's up to you, de Blasio. That guy's an idiot.
So the New York Post ran a story yesterday that highlighted, because people were sharing their responses on Twitter, and the New York Post caught wind of this, of the text messages they were sending Bill de Blasio's hotline for snitching.
Just brutal.
I mean, it was so, and I don't even want to say stereotypical.
So
It was just so New York in the fact that, it's almost that passive aggressive New York attitude here. They didn't go to the streets and protest like they did in Wisconsin and Michigan and and Austin. No, they just sat at home, abiding by their social distancing rules, but taking it up a notch on the NYC 311 or whatever the heck this was.
So, it'd be one thing if you went to Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
And you heard from the outfield, go ahead. And Vin's coming. If you heard from the outfield, Altuve sucks. Altuve sucks. And you're like, oh, that's rude. But it's kind of witty. They got 10,000 fans to do that out in the outfield. That's kind of funny. Go to New York, and what did they yell? It was the F word, F Altuve.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? They just cut straight to the chase,
Yeah.
And they're brutal, brutal fans.
Yeah.
Now, Philadelphia is more brutal, but they can't articulate.
No. And then they start fighting with each other and end up in the jail that they had to put in Veterans Stadium at the time. Yeah. I'm surprised. And they didn't recreate that jail when they built their new stadium.
They should have.
Expanded
and recreated.
Because nothing's changed. Trust me. So de Blasio sets up.
Chris Cox says Ash is getting a little ghetto this morning. He likes it.
So de Blasio sends up the snitch line on Saturday, and it gets filled with all sorts of de Blasio sightings.
Right. I saw you at Starbucks.
Yeah. I saw you in an alley with a man. Take it to a New York level. Take it to the New York state of mind.
Unbelievable.
To quote Billy Joel. They were taking pictures of them flipping him the bird. They were taking pictures of sex toys and telling him what to do with them.
Unbelievable.
The New York Post doesn't get quite into that. You have to click on some of the links to some of the
recourse. I mean, just de Blasio, he's got their number. He's got how they reached out.
Yeah, I don't think New Yorkers care. And what are you going to do? You're going to go after them and stomp on their First Amendment rights? Yeah, True. I don't think that's going to happen. The New York Post does a pretty good job of recapping it and keeping it somewhat family-friendly, PC. You almost have to get into the Twitter links that they've highlighted,
right,
to go see what some of the funny things that was actually done.
Did.
Yes, of course. It's
Caleb Shaw checks in. Good morning, Caleb Shaw.
But no, I thought it was pretty good.
So have you seen this place over the corner of Airline and Laurent? And speaking of Caleb Shaw, this is a target-rich Caleb Shaw Award environment. A guy has come in and taken what used to be the old Hungry Jacks. He's added on out
taking the back. I guess if you're looking at it, the left side, if you're on Airline,
looking. It used to be a gas station years ago.
Okay, I didn't know that.
They've taken it and they
makes sense.
Expanded it out, and they've got now they're going to have kind of a stage
patio stage,
deal. And Caleb, it's just so close,
right?
Yeah, but they're going to have a lot of the same food, I think, that the other establishment had. It's so close to Laurent that you just have to figure at some point somebody's going to barrel through there. It's just the way it is. It's a Victoria tradition.
Yeah.
Of property damage. So far, no Caleb Shaw Award has
Not
led to
yet.
a
Well,
loss of
nobody's
life.
driving anywhere.
No loss of life with the Caleb Shaw Award.
Adam Daughtry checking in, but no loss of life with that.
Tipton avoided it by mere feet.
Yeah. Brent Goen, good morning.
Hello, Brent Goen.
So President Trump yesterday, late, what was yesterday, Monday? Late Sunday night, he tweeted out that he
Today's
was,
Wednesday.
so late Monday night, he tweeted out that he was going to revamp our immigration. It's all, every day is the same these days,
COVID. Right?
Right?
It's a COVID Wednesday.
So he tweeted out immigration. There was a little bit of flap yesterday, and then he, I guess last night, announced that his immigration ban will last for 60 days, and it will only be on those looking for green cards. So temporary work visas, other types of visas. That it would have been. I think here's part of the president's issues that I have issue with. Instead of trying to weigh through whether or not this is actually doable on the front end,
right?
He blurts it out and then works out the details.
I actually kind of like that. He's got a whole bunch of people that work for him to solve the problem.
But wouldn't you say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What are the issues with this before I go? So, I think they find it out when he tweets it out. And here's what the problem was. Trying to delay or trying to limit everybody on temporary visas and all this, it would have been an administrative nightmare. So he's reined it in and said only those now seeking green cards will be affected by the 60-day ban.
Well, go back up to 30,000 feet and recall that President Trump, when we had only cases in Seattle, only were they in Seattle that we knew of, way before New York, the president halted air travel from China. Oh, he's jumping the gun. You'll recall Nancy Pelosi was in Chinatown in San Francisco because she had to show a good face to her local people. Yeah. I'm going to Chinatown. De Blasio was going to the gym. They were all making fun of Trump. He's jumping the gun. He's jumping the gun. Then the next thing you know, Fauci says, well, truth is, and this is a statement of obvious fact, if we would have started this distancing thing earlier, we'd have had fewer cases. There's no doubt if we all stay home, very few people could get the disease. So then all of a sudden, Trump didn't do enough. So then Trump says, well, fine then. I'll just close the borders and nobody can come in. We will social distance America from the world. You know what they call him? A racist.
And a xenophobe.
He's a racist and a xenophobe. Dude, the guy can't win.
No.
You know?
Good point.
Well, he can't win. You tell him, no, you didn't do enough. So then he says, fine, let's close the borders. Now, racist, you're racist. Now you're hurting my friends from Guatemala.
There's J-Dub.
J-Dub.
Jay Young. Look at all the J's
That's
checking
young
in.
Jay Young.
Clint Ives.
Project Tickle Pink. There's Clint Ives, Commissioner Clint Ives. By the way, Clint Ives still bragging, not one COVID case in Precinct 4. He just throws it out there. It's like Precinct 4 area is just devoid of any.
It's because they can't release that information. They can't release people's.
There you have it.
Kathleen Berlanga, good morning to you.
She Canadian?
No, I don't know.
How do you get these names right? Or do you just assume that it's not Berlanga? That it's not Gonzaga?
Well,
because it's Gonzaga.
Because up north, the A is longer A.
A?
Not the soft A.
Sorry. Soren.
Mazda.
A boot.
Mazda.
Speaking of Mazda, Atzenhofer Chevrolet, wow, since 1926. And along the way, they picked up Cadillac, Mitsubishi, Mazda.
Mazda for the American listeners.
There you have it. All the cars you need, new, used, pre-owned, they got it all.
And you can all get it all from the comfort of your own home.
No doubt. Go online, do the entire process if you want. I challenge you, go today, buy a truck. You can do it all online without ever having to actually see one of their salespeople. Show up, tell them I want it running. I want the keys in it, and I want the AC on with the windows down because I'm a big shot. And I'll be there to pick it up. That's not for take care of you. You also got full service of all makes and models. They'll do your inspections. They'll fix your dings with the paint and body shop.
And they've only been here since 1926, folks.
I think if you don't do it today, they'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Hook up with the folks. that are stacking them deep and selling them cheap, selling cars like candy bars. How many generations have they got over there? Tommy Taylor, then Milton Greason, and Mr. Bully Greason, then
has to go all the way back to Mr. Atzenhofer himself. So that'd be four.
It was Ed Atzenhofer, wasn't it? Started selling pickups back in
1926.
Unbelievable.
So that'd be at least 4 generations.
At least.
There's always that one generation somewhere in there that nobody likes to talk about, but probably had some part, some job at the dealership at some point.
Right. Look at there. There's Dana Moore De La Garza says, FYI, Ricky D, Mr. Rafael De La Garza.
Listening from home.
And I talked to Ricky yesterday, and he was torn on this deal because he wants to do everything he can. He wants to send a strong message to his constituents that he's all about small business. He just said, financially, this deal just doesn't make sense. So I believe that council and I believe Mayor McCoy will find other avenues to solve this problem or to assist. You can't solve this problem.
No.
Nothing solves the problem except the virus going away and people getting back to work, and we need oil back at about $60 a barrel.
Yeah.
Other than that, nothing's going to solve economic issues.
No.
Who would have thought this, honestly, in January? We were optimistic. We were going into a great year. It's only April. It's like, oh, bother.
Yeah, we're barely out of the first quarter.
Beaten country. It's not like we're Greece or anything.
No.
Spain.
France. Italy. England.
We'll never be France. We got way too much chutzpah.
I was just going to say the same word.
To be, well.
Chutzpah. I was going to longer you.
Is that you probably said it correctly, being an old Russian Jew like you are. You probably said it correctly. I just make so many religions.
Yeah, I'm
every and nationalities.
Yeah, I'm so confused when I filled out the census. I didn't know which boxes to check.
I've labeled you a Soviet, Jew, spy,
Russian.
You straight up Russian,
German.
Yeah, from the Eastern Bloc.
Yes,
never knew what that was. I mean, I know about Jimmy from the bloc, but I don't know about the Eastern Bloc.
Soviet bloc is how we refer to it.
Now, James Kerr says you both speak Yiddish. No, but we both speak jive, bro.
Soviet bloc is how we referred to it.
Did you?
It wasn't the Eastern Bloc. We owned those countries.
We.
They were ours, the people's.
I mean, I knew something was up. We'd be talking Astros, and he would call him Yuri Gurriel. Gurriel, like he was the old cosmonaut. Yuri. Like it's Yuli. I'm sorry, I had a flashback.
You don't get a name like Gurriel.
We just lost all of our listeners.
There's a Gagarin in there somewhere. Yep. Adam Daughtry says I'm a melting pot.
You're a hodgepodge. You're just a hodgepodge.
I am the melting pot.
I did the show with you for 2 years before I could spell your last name.
I'm a cultural mosaic. Wade, W-A-D-E. It's not that hard.
Right.
Code
name Ash.
Yeah. BJ Nelson says politically correct that Wade and Carter was thrown out long ago. Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah, we tried to maintain for a while. Here's what's funny though. We've gotten to the point now where, and I do think that you've helped me in this regard. There are things that the joke of too soon. There's certain jokes you don't make. Yeah. I mean, you don't. Now, I used to say, no, there's not. There's people that'll get them and there's people that won't. There's people that will get the irony of the fact that you made the joke. There's where the real humor is when you have that listener. Steve Kidder comes to mind as somebody that you could say something that on the surface is either totally benign or highly offensive. And it's the undercurrent that's really the humor. You can't talk on the radio only to Steve Kidder because you've got several thousand people listening. You have to kind of not dumb it down, but be aware of your audience. At the end of the day, I've learned that there's certain things you just can't joke about, certain things you just shouldn't say. And then I usually try to ignore those. But
But I've helped you get to that point.
Yeah, and I'm better if I'm not.
I'm glad.
I don't want us to ever be less than edgy. I want people to go, wow, can you believe they said that on the air? I don't want it to be, it doesn't need to be vile or foul. It just needs to be cutting edge.
Well, I think, the feedback I get from people the most is, wow, you say things I'm thinking, but some people, I think we're almost like a conscience of some people that because they won't say something. So I kind of like that. Like,
they say to you, you say things that I'm thinking, and Carter just mumbles. We don't know what he means. It's like that have a point thing.
Steve Kidder says, just talk to him. He's here for you.
I was born a poor black child in Tupelo, Mississippi.
I'm in the phone book.
Steve Kidder.
I might have to try to find that movie somewhere today.
Oh, but Steve, you know what I'm saying about there's certain humor that you hear and you go, no, you missed the whole point. It's not that he made that joke. And I don't even mean me. I mean great comedians. It's like, it's not that he made that joke. It's the undercurrent of what he said there that's so funny.
Norm Macdonald was doing COVID stuff about a month or so ago and at a stand-up place,
Did
obviously before they were closed. And man, it was funny.
He goes, hey, I'd have been here sooner, but he goes, he started coughing into the crowd. I've had this nagging cough and my fever just spiked. And he's like spewing out onto the crowd, It's hilarious.
It was. And this is pre-lockdown.
Yeah, and he's got that real dry delivery where he's not laughing.
He's Canadian.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we roll.
He's not actually dry humor. He's just beaten down by the government.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's been beaten down by the regime.
Exactly. Tell you who won't beat you down. The locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer.
Are you 2 for 2? The VCS companies, Rocket Oilfield Services, and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer all reside on Curb Boulevard. Curb service, folks.
They'll prop you up.
Samsung's,
Apple's, Motorola, any Android or Apple operating system. They've got
Instruments. Did you say Motorola?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're still in business.
I think they relaunched the Razr.
Was it over when the Germans bought Pearl Harbor? I say no. He's on a roll. Let it go. Man, I hope Mr. Hartman's not listening. He's like,
might have been earlier.
What are idiots talking about?
But stop on by. They've got curbside service. They'll take care of all your mobile communication needs and
you can get
even
a ranch radio.
Yeah.
Why don't we get a ranch radio? I bet I can get us a good deal. And you can have one in your truck. I can have it in my car. Breaker, come in, Ash. And I can have to when I cue the mic, your horn honk. So like if you're away, like if you're at the old rig site, honk, 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 and you can come back in.
Well, I would know what not to come back in.
You can come down off the drilling platform and come over there. Hand your hard hat to James Kurth.
Come back as it ain't you.
Right? Honk, honk. Oh, folks, by the way, if you haven't reached out yet, 550-1826, reach out to the boss. Get you a new dumpster. Get you some new county service from White Trash Services. BJ Nelson, Scott Nelson, the Roll-Off Queen, they're all there. It's a cast of characters out there, and they're great folks, family business, locally owned and operated. You'll be glad you reached out to the boss, 550-1826.
Tell you who people are reaching out to and keep doing so. That's Cheryl with Gray Barn Design. People are starting to plan their parties now that the light is at the end of the tunnel. The light of freedom is at the end of this COVID darkness tunnel.
Do you want me to really spike her calls?
Yes.
It's kind of a combination of a party design deal and a 900 number. You'll call and say, hi, we're thinking about having a party for about 25 people. And Cheryl says, what are you wearing? What's my name?
Well, I'm going to wear white. It's a wedding.
That's not what I'm talking about. You're a bad little girl. Anyway, reach out to Cheryl, 920-6803. Cheryl, I'm sorry. Sorry. It's not what I was talking about. And reach out to Cheryl because she can help you plan your next party. It'll be a dandy.
I'm sitting there reading last night, and she comes out of the bedroom because she went to bed early, and all of a sudden, I got it. I figured this one out. And she's all excited. She doesn't sleep over this stuff. She's
Sudoku? Oh, she's doing the party.
The party. She's got the theme and how she's going to do it.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. And it was like, if
I had who could help her get that out there to the world, Razor IT Solutions. Help her build a Facebook presence, a website. Help her coordinate those two. Get a donation button. We need a donation button at Wade & Carter. That's what we need. I mean, if you can't subscribe, just donate. It's your responsibility.
I think we made that play to help keep us on the air.
I
We've
like
seen
it.
nothing come.
We might have done that once. Good morning, Mr. Hartman. This is top of the day to you guys. Good morning, sir.
Enjoy the day. A little bit of rain this afternoon, so get your cows looked after this morning.
Stay tuned because you've got Ralph Salazar
Yep.
and Brother Gary Moses.
Yep. Today is Earth Day.
Love y'all. Love y'all.
If
We
nothing
love you
else,
too.
get outside and celebrate Earth Day today.
Go out in the humidity.
They're actually going to be able to go and see the sun in LA today.
because
You can't go protest.
no more smog.
No, but I want to leave you with this, and we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. But Dr. Robert Redfield, director of the CDC, comes out yesterday. The old, let's pump the brakes on this. I mean, get excited about life going back to normal, and here's you think I'm Mr. Apocalypse. This guy is Dr. Death.
It's their job to be a downer. We're the CDC.
Yeah. Another coronavirus outbreak, but listen to the wording, could come later this year, and it could possibly be worse than what we're experiencing now.
Isn't that just a statement of fact? But does it need to be said? Like,
Is it a fact? When you use words like could and possibly, that's not factual. That's
Right.
that's
doom and gloom?
doom and gloom, fear mongering, and it's probably you're dealing with probabilities. You're no worse than the guy that says this could kill 2 million Americans, and we took it to heart, and I'm not saying that what we did didn't help.
Yeah, but see, that's what the problem is. It's like now everybody's gonna say, "Well, that's because the reason it worked is because we all acted quickly." And I'm not sure I believe that.
I'm
either,
wondering if we ever find out that it absolutely had no effect. We'd ever find that out from the government.
right? It's the first day of spring, but it could be an early winter, and it could be worse than last winter. So don't enjoy the next couple of months.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's just fear mongering at its worst. I don't even want to say it's at its best because it really is at its best. But to me, it's even the worst.
I know what you're saying.
You know what
It's
I'm
like
saying?
I couldn't care
Yeah.
less.
It's pure speculation. Thank you, Chris Conrad.
Well, since this is our first show on YouTube, I think it's appropriate that I add that you're the best there is at this, and I enjoy standing by your side.
Well, thank you.
When Caleb Shaw allows me, I like being here. We have two comments on.
Yeah.
They're both from Travis. Was he?
He says he says he can see our nose hairs. We'll have to fix that camera angle.
Top fan.
He might be.
We'll try to work on the videography of this.
But we'll get there.
We're out.
Appreciate it. Bye,
You guys have a
folks.
great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, people. Oh, that's a good program, brother. Top that, boys.
Sounded good. I'm getting great. That's what me and Gary do too. We pat ourselves on the back.
Right.
We don't like this. We pat ourselves on the back. That was great. That was good information.
So I'll tell you one that I have verified.
I gave this. I went through the other day.
I'll tell you one that I verified that happened in a different era, but you can both appreciate as being sunny.